Good evening. It's 6:30. Thank you to those present in attendance here in the room, and thank you to those watching live stream. I am calling the May 19th, 2025 City Council meeting to order at 6:31. Roll call, please.
Lundy.
Here.
Ernst.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
McIntyre.
Here.
Moss.
Here.
Sluder.
Here.
Smith.
Thank you. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, approval of remote attendance, and I do not believe remote attendance is requested tonight. Agenda number 5, presentations, recognitions, proclamations. There are none tonight. Next, audience comments. Do any audience members wish to speak? You could go to the podium and then make sure the button is pressed for the green light.
Testing. Yes. Hello, my name is Meg Sutherland, and I'm from Washington, and I come to represent the Washington Bridge Education Foundation. It's nice to see some familiar faces, and welcome to the new elected council members and other positions in this room. If you are not aware, there is an education foundation here in Washington, and we were established the summer of 2021. We are a nonprofit dedicated to building, recognizing, informing, developing, growing, and educating students here in Washington. That's also our acronym, BRIDGE, building, recognizing, informing, developing, growing, and educating. Some ways we've been implementing our mission is to offer grants back to students. We saw the need that skilled trades is a nice career path option for students in our community to help fill local workforce and at national need and the world need for skilled labor. And each year we have been presenting grant money to students in our community who are going into the trades, and we help recognize that as a great option, usually does incur too much debt. We're helping them go for that. We help with tools, materials, courses that would get them started in a skilled trade. This year you may see this sign around town in the yard somewhere. We just put those out. That's again to recognize students who are going into a skilled trade. We have students that we are helping go into the field of cosmetology, certified nursing assistant, ultrasound technology, welding, automotive technician, and EMT firefighting. That was just this year also. That adds to past years where we have helped students who are going into electrician, diesel tech, particularly farming equipment, airplane mechanics, and electric vehicle technicians, plumbing. We just recognize those skilled trades and students who are going into that. We've also launched an opportunity grant for educators at the secondary level in our community it's supplemental to help students maybe create projects and expose our students to life skills or career opportunities. We've implemented at the community level a career directory where we hope that our local businesses and professionals complete the career directory. We've run it through our Chamber of Commerce as well as our website. We're looking for our business owners, our leaders to welcome our students to come job shadow, maybe do a co-op through the school as they explore their careers. But tonight I'm also here to thank the city for the tourism grant, which helps our annual fundraiser, which is coming up. We're looking forward to that, is Paint the Path. That is happening Saturday, June 14th. We have an additional aspect to our fundraiser this year, and that is celebrating the 200th birthday of Washington, we've implemented a contest that allows for cash prizes for artists to create a scene on the walking path next to the fire department and right here out the south doors of 5 Points. That's where Paint the Path is takes place, and we have welcomed artists to come and paint something that represents our community of Washington as chances to win cash prizes. And the city tourism grant that we received as a foundation helps to put on that event. And we are happy to have 5 Points Cares. That series is putting on a pickleball tournament this year to coincide with Paint the Path. We have a lot going on. It'll be a fun day, a great way to support our community, the arts, and education all at the same time. We also have a gallery new this year, so you may see this sign around town too. And this is promoting the community gallery wall, which is located here in 5 Points in the south hallway, heading out towards the path. You can see artwork of former Paint the Path that have happened in the past 4 years. And we encourage you to enjoy the artwork and learn more about our foundation as well as our fundraiser. Thank you for letting us be part of the community.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Bob Montgomery, and I live at 1322 North Main Street. Our farmland extends from North Main to the eastern edge of the Washington 223 property. And I spoke at the December 9th, 2024 city meeting concerning the Hengst Amphitheater proposal. My complete comments are attached on page 7 of those minutes, which are available. I thought it would be important to talk again as we have 4 new council people on this council. On December 9th, I stated the following: it is an appropriate time to affirm our desire for both the D Amphitheater and our farm to successfully coexist. The Hengst Foundation is passionate about this project, and we are passionate about agriculture and hope to model what it takes to farm successfully adjacent to a city. We also asked 10 questions that night and await the answers on most of those. We are pleased that the city has been transparent and released the revised Hengst Foundation letter of intent dated April 28, 2025. We do have some concerns. The first one is the non-binding provision, number 2, and I will quote from it. It says, "The city will sell or lease to the foundation approximately 50 acres of vacant land owned by the city of Washington and located generally in the northeast corner of the real estate located between the Route 24 bypass on the north, Kruger Road on the south, North Main Street on the east, and Dallas Road on the west," and then in quotes, "the property." For a revised legal document to describe the 223 as extending to the North Main Street on the east is concerning to us. The 223 ends near Wellington Drive, a full half-mile west of North Main Street. Our land is not within the city limits, nor should it be described as part of the property in this agreement, if that is what it states. Number 2, non-binding provision number 11, compliance with city codes. Paragraph 2, and I quote, "The study will also provide expected sound levels at and crossing Kruger Road." The county residents are in the direct line of the speakers and not mentioned at all. We request noise data for our property to ensure the long-term value is not degraded. This letter of intent ignores the responsibilities the foundation has to county residents. In addition, in the past, there's been discussion of how loud a rock concert would be. Most rock concerts operate between 90 and 120 decibels. Federal law requires locomotive train horns to operate between 96 and 110 decibels. Rock concerts last for hours, train horns only 15 to 20 seconds, and we can hear the train blast its horn inside our house when it goes through town. The last item is binding provisions, and it's letter D, confidentiality. It states in part, and I'll quote just part of it, city parties will not at any time permit any person whatsoever to examine or make copies of any reports, plans, specifications. End of quote. We want to be sure that what the foundation and its partners submit to government agencies is factual and then built as permitted. On December 9th, I requested that an engineer that we hire be allowed to review the placement of berms, slopes, basins, trees, lights, and trails prior to submissions to permitting agencies, final plat, and build due to past experiences with the city and involved partners. In the 93 years my family has owned this farm, a lot has changed. Our long-term commitment to the farm has not. Our farm is in the county, but we have paid and will continue to pay property taxes and support our local schools in this community. And it is an important part of what we can do. We wish to model what it takes for a farm to thrive at the intersection of urban and ag. And thank you for your consideration tonight. Please attach these comments to the minutes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Okay, thank you. Next, review agenda. Are there any deletions, additions, discussion items only? Okay, moving on. The consent agenda. There will be a new procedure for us going forward regarding the consent agenda. Our city attorney will clarify pulling items from the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Especially for those that are new on the council here, the consent agenda is designed to streamline the process of approving what are considered to be, at the time the agenda is formed, routine in nature, but it is not intended to eliminate discussion or, a separate vote on any item that any member of the board decides they would like separately considered. For that reason, going forward, at the time we reach the consent agenda on the agenda, the mayor's going to ask if anybody has any item that they would like removed. And what we'll do, and this is one place where every alderman has a vote. So one person can remove an item. It doesn't require any kind of unanimous or even majority. So if any of you want any item removed, we'll separate that item out from the consent agenda and then vote on the balance of the items, okay, as part of the consent agenda. And then my recommendation is immediately following the vote on the consent agenda items, we'll have discussion and a separate independent vote on that item or items, there's no limit on the number, that were removed. That way, the goal here is to have everybody understand that anything that they want separate and independent discussion on, all you have to do is speak up and say, remove item E, for example. And then we'll vote on A, B, C, D, and then F through J, and then separately talk about item E. Any questions about that procedure? Okay. Mayor?
Thank you. All right, tonight's consent agenda is A through J. If there are no items that would like to be removed separately, I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda. McIntyre.
Second, Ernst.
Okay, so McIntyre first, second Ernst. Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, Alderperson Blundy.
I just have a question about item B, and not directly what's related to the information in there, but when the evidence building was approved and PJ Hare got the contract, there was discussion about they were going to look and review for potential cost reduction opportunities related to the evidence building. So I was just curious if they've ever come back with any opportunities where they see, a chance to reduce the cost of the evidence building.
City Administrator Carr, Chief Stevens?
There were some, those are the items they identified as value engineering, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but yeah, there were several items that they took off the original design or altered to save money, and I don't want to quote the amount, just because I don't remember offhand.
Okay, so I guess then what the amount was in here, what was it, 2.3 million? Yeah, 2.3 million roughly. I mean, so do we have, I guess with that in mind, then the assumption would be it will come in less than the 2.3 million, which not exactly sure how much.
I can get you. Oh, yeah, the change, thankfully, I'm sitting right next to the finance director.
You got the accountant right there.
Who points out that the net amount by change order was a little over $50,703.50. So the contract sum was $2.286 roughly $1 million.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Oh, no. Vote. So you have to wait. Oh. Well. We're waiting on one vote. Right, but it says 6-0 here, and that would, it should say 7, correct? Oh. The other times it was different, though. Okay, never mind.
There should be 7. Did everybody log in and click the login button when you first came in?
Oh, it's spelled wrong.
I removed you from the electronic voting when we did all the changes, because you never vote electronically. So that's why my count was wrong, so we're good now.
So it's, okay, 7-0. Okay, thank you. Next, number 9, mayoral communications, requested actions. A, the appointment of John Blundy as city representative to the Five Points Board. John replaces Mike Brownfield, who had prior been our city representative. I will attend, and John will attend. There's an orientation tomorrow for information about being on the Five Points Board, so I wanted to let everybody know that. Item B, the Memorial Day Committee update. So as you know, on the very first meeting, I formed a special committee because it came as a little bit of a surprise that I was in charge of the Memorial Day Parade and ceremony at Glendale Cemetery. So we met that Thursday, May 8th, and there were 9 people in attendance, which is wonderful. That's really, really remarkable for short notice. So Alderperson Martin, he is in charge of the Glendale Cemetery ceremony. We have Cindy Jefford and Larry Sloniger in charge of the parade entries. We have a meeting tomorrow, late afternoon, and I call it our ducks in a row meeting to make sure everybody knows what they're doing. And prior to that, city staff meets to also make sure that we all know what's going to happen on Memorial Day. So everything is going well, and I hope everybody will be in attendance. One final thing. Apparently, well, not apparently, if you saw the Facebook post about the parade entries, it stated that May 19th, which is today, was the last day for parade entries, and so I wanted to announce that also. Letter C, monthly meetings with the mayor. Monthly meetings with the mayor. So during the election, I met with constituents weekly, and so I also said that I would like to meet with constituents monthly if I was fortunate enough to be elected mayor. So on May 24th at 11 a.m. in the library, in the meeting room, is our first scheduled And there's also, well, there are various names we could call this. Some names that have been suggested are Conversations with Constituents, Let's Talk Washington, but either which way, the first one will be on May 24th at 11 a.m. in the library, and this will also be posted on the city's Facebook page and on the website. So I hope we have people who would like to meet myself, and also Chief Stevens and City Administrator Carr will be in attendance, so please come. Next, City Administrator Communications, Staff Reports, Requested Actions.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item this evening is the council report. One item that I would add to this that was missed on Friday, largely because I wasn't sure if it was going to get done yet, is the city contracted with Millennia Professional Services to perform a topographic survey of our 223-acre property south of the bypass. To this time, they have completed everything east of Dallas, because when I let them know Nofsinger and Dallas got a little bit of that confusion that we were kind of worried about originally. But the intent is to go from Nofsinger all the way to the east edge of the property. So the intent behind that is largely because there has been a growing interest in that property from the past council as well as the current council on what we could do, what we might do, what might not happen. So it's best to get in, do the survey before the plants grow up, and the cost of the survey goes up significantly. So that was the intent behind the drone survey. And in front of you guys is also the rest of the council report. If there are any questions, please ask at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the approval of the bid award for the Catherine Street Reconstruction Phase 2. This is a continuation of last year's project, moving from elm to spruce this year. We put it out for bid. We received 3 bidders. The lowest bid was Stark Excavating at $1,779,436.30. We budgeted $2 million on this throughout 3 different funds. And staff is recommending approval of the contract award for the Catherine Street Reconstruction Project to Stark Excavating out of Bloomington, Illinois.
Motion to approve, McIntyre?
Do I have a second?
Blundy, second.
Any questions, comments? Cast your vote, please. The vote is 7-0. Thank you. Next item, Dennis?
The next item is the approval of the BNCO contract renewal for audiovisual medium streaming. Largely, the contract is very similar to the last one that we had with BNCO, with the only addition and difference between these two is for any meeting that were to exceed a 2-hour meeting, we would be billed at $150 per hour for that additional meeting time. And then also, if there's an additional meeting or a session outside of the 3 normal meetings, those would cost $750 for a 3-hour meeting, and then anything that would exceed 3 would be billed at an additional $150 per hour. And staff budgeted for $25,000 for the AV support of the city council meetings, and we're looking for a recommendation for approval of the proposal for BNCO to continue the AV support and live streaming of our city council meetings.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
McIntyre motions.
Sluter, second.
Questions, comments?
Question,
Mayor.
Mayor.
Mr.
Go ahead.
McIntyre.
For those of us who are fresh faces up here, can you just give us a rundown on the equipment? Is that part of this, or is the equipment owned by the city?
The equipment is owned by the city. That was a part of an original contract with Pearl Technologies to acquire those assets, and then the contract with BNCO is for them to operate those for the meetings.
The other thing in here, and I'm trying to find it, I read it earlier today. I noticed in the scope of work, the audio-visual system provided by Pearl Technology, does that indicate that that's where, if we were to replace equipment, that's where it comes from, or that's not part of any part of this contract? You're just saying that's who provides the hardware?
That is just who provided the equipment when we originally purchased it.
Mayor?
Alderperson McIntyre.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on this. I've been extremely happy with this and the YouTube channel, so I know this was a big undertaking and going, so I just look forward to supporting this and moving it forward. So I think that several members of the community have definitely benefited from it, and it's very nice to be able to go back and listen. I've had comments from other locations and cities that speak of how nice it is to see our stuff. So I just want to make that comment, and thank you guys for continuous good work.
Mayor,
Alderperson Blondie.
just one question on that. So the remote attendance option we've got, has that all been worked out? And part of the reason I ask is next month I'm gonna have to use it.
Yes, I believe so. The first meeting you were away, we actually had it set up. We weren't sure if you were going to hop on or not. We had
Okay.
the monitor set up back here, and it was ready to roll. And then I think we did a little test run after it to kind of make sure that what we were going to get was going to operate. And it does seem like it runs how it should now.
Okay. Yeah, there'll be a meeting in June and one in July, but I'll give you notice on that when I can't make it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Vote, please. Vote is 7-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is D, the Hengst Foundation Letter of Intent Discussion. Before I turn it over to City Administrator Carr, I want to say that last meeting, Alderperson Martin asked me, have there been any updates from the Hengst Foundation? And when he asked that, to me, I thought, like personally to me, because I have been waiting since I've been sworn in for somebody to personally contact me either by email or by phone call from the Hengst Foundation, and that did happen this past Thursday. So at the time when Alderperson Martin asked me that, I believe I replied, not to my knowledge, because I was expecting some kind of personal communication. But I do want to go back with the timeline of this letter of intent. So back in Monday, April 28th, Bob Brown, the attorney for the foundation, sent an email to Derek Schreier asking that the LOI be submitted to the City of Washington for consideration by the City Council. That was early afternoon on Monday, the 28th. Then Derek Schreier sent an email that same day, that afternoon, to Gary Manier, and stated that the letter of intent has been submitted by the Hengst Foundation. At that time, that was before even though I was elected, I hadn't been sworn in yet, and at that time, I was left out of any discussions or any conversations having to do with anything city, because at that time I was considered just an alderperson, not the mayor-elect. So then, the day after I was sworn in, City Administrator Carr forwarded this letter of intent to me. I did not open that letter of intent because at that time, I've opened it since, at that time my intention, and it's still my intention, is to put the brakes on everything. We have a brand new city council. We need to find out where we want to go as a city council, and that's why this goal-setting session that is in the planning stages is very important. But it was also important to me to have the information known to the community what has been provided to us by the Hengst Foundation. And so thus why this item is on the agenda. And at this point, it isn't, as far as I'm concerned, a point of just continuing. Again, I'd like to put the brakes on this till after we put our heads together with the goal-setting session. So, City Administrator Carr?
Thank you, Mayor. Largely, I'd just like to summarize, and I've got them in the memo itself, but for anybody that hasn't read the memo, kind of spell out exactly or summarize what the foundation is asking, or what they're asking of the city, and also what they're proposing. So just that way it's out there and everybody can kind of think about it and kind of prepare themselves as we move into a goal setting session. So largely they're looking at, as Bob Montgomery had said, the northeastern 50-ish acres. I would clarify of the city's 223-acre parcel. They are a 501c3. They're willing to purchase or lease for 99 plus years the property from the city. They would like to construct an amphitheater with a maximum capacity of 5,000 people. Largely that's 2,000 actual fixed seats. And then the rest of the area is going to be a park-like setting. They will intend to provide for up to 1,700 parking spots. They plan to construct concessions, bathrooms, and other support facilities. Their proposed design envisions a casual park setting with shade trees and lawns, creating a picnic-friendly environment for spectators. They intend to comply with all applicable city, state, and federal laws and codes. They will commission a sound study to determine the level of sound that will be emitted from the venue. At a bare minimum, they will follow the state of Illinois noise ordinance. For this project, it would look to be not exceeding 72 decibels during daytime hours. That is the state noise ordinance. Daytime hours is 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. They would begin construction within 90 days of the city beginning construction on the roadway. And then they would grade the stormwater detention basin that sits on the north side of Kruger Road from Wellington. What they're asking of the city is for us to build the roadway with storm sewer lighting and bicycle facilities from Dallas Road to the parking lot access, extending water, sewer, and other utilities to the property, survey the property, and that is property surveys as well as title surveys for the property. We would rezone the property to C3, or we will rezone property to C3 with a special use permit, and then maintain the stormwater detention basin upon its completion. The fiscal impact on this, largely what we have budgeted or what we have shown in the past, is that the roadway and utility construction would be about $3.5 million. Roadway utility engineering would be about $300,000. We have discussed with council that a lease term that we originally proposed would recoup the $3.5 million in the first 15 years, and then the lease would remain at that value for the next 84 years. The property appraisals came in without infrastructure at $23,000 per acre, and with the road and utilities at $43,600 an acre. So at this time, staff supports the mayor's decision on delaying the decision until after a city council goal setting session. But we can open the floor for discussion if there is any.
Mayor.
Alderperson Blundy.
So, I mean, I would, thank you and the city staff for making the letter of intent public. I never felt comfortable discussing that in, executive session. I thought that's something that should definitely be out in the public. But with that in mind, I also have no level of comfort with a letter of intent right now. To me, it makes no sense at all that we would entertain something like this. I know we're saying we want to wait till after the goal setting session, but I think if we go into a goal setting session, we, the council, will sit around and we'll have some discussion about it. But there's never really been any, I'll say, real facts around that. A lot of questions were asked. We had an open house, but nothing seems to ever get answered. And I don't anticipate between now and the goal setting session that the questions will really be answered that were asked. And so I'm not sure what we'll get out of that. I think the feasibility study was done by the Hanks Foundation. I mean, to me, if I was to look at that there's good information in there, but at the same time, the thought that always pops in my mind is that's like when they asked tobacco companies to do cancer research. Well, of course, they came back and said, no, smoking's fine for you, right? Not a problem. It represents the interest of the foundation, not the interest of the taxpayers. And so for me, the only way I could think that we could move forward with a letter of intent is to really have an independent study done that would really do the due diligence that I think needs to happen when we're talking about millions of taxpayer dollars at risk. And I think it needs to be very clear that we would hire the firm to do that. They would report directly to the city council, answer to the city council, and they would represent the taxpayers' interest. Because again, right now, I think we're only representing the Hinks Foundation interest. And I think it needs to be a financial feasibility review, a governance risk assessment, infrastructure cost validation, and market viability assessment. I think we need to have all of that information because, again, in my mind, it's very clear that the Hinks Foundation is not going to provide that with us. And so I think it's going to be on us to do it. But I think we need to also ask that the Hinks Foundation fund that study. Because I don't think we should prematurely commit taxpayer dollars to something that we can't get answers for. And so we could work out something later that maybe we'd reimburse them or something for that study, but I think they need to commit to do it for us. And I also think we need to be very clear with this letter of intent that we will take no action on this letter of intent until we've done that third-party analysis and it's been reported out to the city council.
Mayor,
Alderperson Moss?
I would tack on to what Mr. Bondi just said and add the sound study onto that. I think it's more appropriate for the city to undertake the sound study and not the developer. After all, I think it's incumbent upon us to ensure the viability and the comfort of our residents that might live adjacent to the property. So that was one of my main thoughts, and I would, kind of tack that on to what Mr. Bondi mentioned. I would also like to see some mention on the part of the foundation for maintaining some type of operating endowment, given that this is a 501c3, to ensure the viability. As we've seen on the studies that they've done, they're, some of the numbers are in the red for quite some time. So I think an operating endowment would, if the litany of things that need to be addressed, that also needs to be considered on their end. So I would just mention those two things, that the sound study be commissioned on our behalf and not the developers and the operating endowment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor.
Alderperson Martin?
So I definitely support this goal-setting session. I think it's going to be really good. I look forward to that. I agree with the operating fund, or having some sort of, whether even if it's for $400,000, $500,000, whatever it is, some sort of operating fund endowment. But the way I see this letter of intent, and so correct me if I'm wrong, is that this isn't, committing that we're going to do this. This is committing that if we do this, if a sound study does come back and it's good, if all the things are correct, that then we are committing to doing the infrastructure and road on our property up to that property, and either doing a lease or a sale. So I feel like all the things that were said are good, but they're kind of down the road or next, because if we're not even willing to do this, if everything is perfect, then why would we do any study? Why would we do any noise study or have them do anything more? So this is, again, correct me if I'm wrong, they're just wanting to know if everything works, we're willing to do this infrastructure and road.
Yes, that's largely what the LOI says. Justly, it does say they would like us to move forward with the engineering work for the road, for them to continue their engineering work for their architectural. So that is their ask at this time.
Alderperson McIntyre?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So I agree. I think that the past city council, we were all on that same page as you talked about, Alderperson Martin is if this all goes forward and all this checks the box, are we comfortable moving forward? And I think it was kind of the consensus that yes, but I would agree with Alderperson Moss and Alderperson Blundy. These need to be some independent studies, and I truly believe that. I think that we cannot put forth a study to the citizens to put this type of ask of taxpayer dollars without having an independent study on something of this nature, especially the sound study. I think that's been a concerning factor. And while I know that the original study that was put forth by them was based off the ground as it sits right now, that's with no restrictions, that's with no barriers, that's with nothing. I think we would need to see what everything that would be required to fall within what we would feel comfortable providing to our citizens. I think to me that's one of the largest things. I think we've discussed that when we put the infrastructure in there, you can see it right here in this letter of intent and the information provided by City Administrator Carr, that clearly the property gains value just in this, simply us putting that in there. It nearly brings it up $20,000 per acre. So that obviously in theory would be a good use of taxpayers' dollars because it would make the value of the land more privy, but then you have to have people buy that land. So again, I think having independent studies is definitely something that we need to do. And I don't know if we're at a point where we feel comfortable investing $300,000 to get a sound study for them, when at the end of the day, it should be some type of independent sound study. I just would not be comfortable with a sound study that wasn't independent and non-biased for either party.
Is there anyone who hasn't spoken yet wish to make a comment?
Mayor.
Alderperson Johnson.
Yeah, I would agree with the gentleman down at the other end. With definitely, I think if we were to move forward, we need to have an independent studies done. But I still just think it's premature before we have some kind of goal setting, because I think we need to discuss as a council, generally speaking, what do we want to do with that property as a whole, rather than piecemealing this one project. I just think that's a conversation that we need to have before we commit to anything.
Thank you. Alderperson Ernst.
Yeah, I would agree that independent study is probably necessary. I would ask, I'm not sure if we can answer this question, but some of the questions that are going unanswered from the foundation, are they going unanswered because they're waiting for their engineering to figure out what materials they'll use, or their berming or their sound blocking? Are they waiting for that because we are holding off on the letter of intent? I don't know if we can answer that. I don't know if we can get in touch with them, ask that question, but.
Thank you. Also, the website. I went to look for the Hengst website, and I don't see it online. Maybe, do you have any information about that? So again, this item on this agenda is for informational purposes, and we will be talking, again, the goal-setting session, just like Alderperson Johnson said, it's like, what are we going to do with the whole 223? A lot of people have been coming to me with a lot of really good ideas of things that make the whole area cohesive, and the amphitheater could be part of that. So this goal-setting session starts with community input. It starts with a survey of the community, survey of staff, survey of the council. So it's all encompassing, not just us here, it's just the whole community. So I am looking forward to that, and we'll hear more about that later. So moving on to resolutions. City Administrator Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. The first resolution this evening, the synopsis of which is the following resolution would allow for a temporary closure of a state-maintained roadway for a public event. And by title, the temporary road closure of a state-maintained roadway for a public event, the Candlelight Stroll.
Motion to approve.
Alderperson Moss.
Second.
Alderperson Johnson. Comments, questions? Vote, please. Seven zero. Thank you. Letter B.
The next resolution this evening would allow for a temporary closure of a state-maintained roadway for a public event, and by title, the temporary road closure of a state-maintained roadway for a public event, the Washington Autumn Fest.
Motion to approve, McIntyre.
Second.
McIntyre made a motion, second by Ernst. Vote, please. Oh, any discussion? Questions? Okay, vote, please. 7-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda are first reading ordinances. Letter A.
The first ordinance this evening would amend the City of Washington Code to revise residency requirements for the police chief. By title, amending code to revise residency requirements for the police chief.
Mayor,
Alderperson Blundy.
I'd like to make a motion to waive second reading.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion by John Blundy to waive second reading, second by Alderperson McIntyre. Do we have any discussion, questions?
Mayor,
Alderperson Martin.
I'm curious what what reason we would have to waive. Is there a time constraint that I'm unaware of?
I guess Alderperson Blundy, you would answer that.
Okay, sure. I'm not aware of any time constraint, but I feel like we've talked about it at the committee of the whole. I certainly just don't see any reason to delay it. It seemed like everybody was in favor of it. And I guess my intent would be then, at the next council meeting, we can take action to make interim Chief Stevens permanent Chief Stevens.
Cast your vote, please. This is to waive second reading. The vote is 5 yes, 2 no. Could you please read the persons who voted, how they voted?
Sluter, yes. Johnson, yes. Ernst, no. Martin, no. Moss, yes. McIntyre, yes. Blundy, yes.
It takes 6 votes to waive second reading, so the motion does not pass. So letter B.
This first reading would annex part of a parcel on South Main Street totaling 0.039 acres into the City of Washington corporate limits and zone it R1. By title, request by the Weenus Trucking Incorporated to annex part of a parcel on South Main Street.
Letter C.
This first reading would de-annex approximately 0.008 acres from a 0.35 acre parcel owned by Grace Bible Church at 1105 South Main Street from the City of Washington corporate limits. By title, request by Grace Bible Church to disconnect part of a parcel on South Main Street.
And before you go on to these D through, I guess I, these were on the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda and also discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting.
D is a first reading that would allow for a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate at 1406 Westgate Road. By title, a special use request of Annabelle and Gail Johnson to operate a non-owner occupied short-term rental located at 1406 Westgate Road.
Letter E.
This is a first reading ordinance that would allow for a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate at 132-134 North Main Street, A and B. By title, special use request of Schluter Properties, LLC, to operate a non-owner occupied short-term rental located at 132-134 North Main Street, A-B.
Letter F.
This first reading would allow for a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate at 711 South High Street. By title, a special use request of Candy Presley to operate a non-owner occupied short-term rental located at 711 South High Street.
Letter G.
This first reading would allow for a non-owner occupied short-term rental to operate at 406 North Main Street. By title, a special use request of Bethany Zerbonia to operate a non-owner occupied short-term rental located at 406 North Main Street.
Mayor,
Alderperson McIntyre.
I just have a quick question on these last four that we just read for the owner occupied. Are these able to be rented at this current time, John? Are they waiting for this paperwork?
So each of these have been operating previously. As staff, we have notified them that they will be allowed to continue to operate provided that they completed the paperwork to initiate the special use process. So until that time when the council votes on it, yes, they've been given the green light to continue.
Okay, thank you. I was just gonna say, if we need to, I would feel comfortable waiving these and the notion of the fact if it was restricting them from income, but as it's not, that's fine.
Letter G.
H.
Sorry, H.
This first reading ordinance would rezone Mallard Crossing Commercial Park Lot 5 from the C2 District General Retail to the C3 District Service Retail. By title, a request by Brent Ricketts to rezone Mallard Crossing Commercial Park Lot 5, the subject property from C2 to C3.
Finally, letter I.
This first reading ordinance would allow no more than 5 chickens on any residential lot subject to the acquisition of a building permit. A building permit would be required to construct the coop, and the chicken enclosure could be located no closer than 15 feet from a side yard or rear lot line and at least 25 feet from an adjacent residential structure. By title, Residential Chickens Zoning Code Text Amendment.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, second reading ordinances. There are none. Next, alderperson comments. Are there any alderpersons wishing to speak? All right, since there are none, it is time for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Martin.
Second.
Okay, Martin made a motion, second by Moss. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.